The Minnesota Vikings got their butts kicked last night, and man, it feels bad. Like it felt bad, it looked bad. There's nothing about that game that came out that's good. Everything just kind of feels bad. But is it actually uglier than we think? Man, we're going to talk about it on the UP.
I don't know who I am. Can I say?
Powered by Riverside FM.
UP Nation, this thing could be worse than we think. And this is not being over emotional about a 37-10 drubbing last night, but this thing could be worse than we thought. Shout out to my guy, Purple Soda, man, who always, in my opinion, brings great takes to a lot of my videos. So I appreciate the comments, man. And I've always been a protector of KOC or an advocate for KOC. Like, I'm not on the side of the fence where I feel like KOC should be fired. I know a lot of people, especially after last night's game, has that take. I'm not quite there yet, but you know what? I disagree, but I'm starting to understand. My guy Purple Soda basically said, I'm paraphrasing his comment, but I thought it was a great take. He says, KOC has exhibited enough body of work to be able to make a decision where we should go with this football team. And I kind of agree with that. You know, I look at KOC, and he's been here now. This is year 4. So I think, Soda, you're right, man. There is a large body of work that he has. But the one thing is, he hasn't had his quarterback yet. JJ was his draft pick, and JJ really hasn't had a chance to hit the field. And I have a lot of opinions on that, but he really hasn't had a chance to hit the field. And as I mentioned before, he's kind of attached to KOC. So until that happens, I am not ready to make a decision or to be on the side of the fence that KOC should be gone or KOC should be fired. Like, he's got to get an opportunity with his guy. For me, that is a big umbrella thing. I can criticize other areas of KOC's coaching. I know a lot of people probably can criticize a lot of different areas of KOC coaching. I agree with that, man. I have no pushback on that anymore. I'm tired of defending KOC. But the one thing that I will stand firm on is that I think you have to, no matter what happens this year, I think you have to give him another year with J.J. McCarthy. I don't think anybody foresaw J.J. McCarthy having a high ankle sprain. I think the expectation was that J.J. was going to be playing this whole year. He's missed several games, several weeks. I don't think anybody put that into the equation. So I think with KOC's track record in terms of winning and losing, he's gotten the Vikings into the playoffs twice. He's got a winning record, one of the winningest records for active coaches right now in the NFL. And I know that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but what that does, it buys him time, especially since he hasn't had his quarterback yet being able to play. See, this next year and a half is going to be huge for the Minnesota Vikings. And I don't like change just to change. Like, what I think a lot of people don't think about is that when you fire a head coach, there is a heavy level of turnover for teams. So if you were to fire Kevin O'Connell, that whole coaching staff goes. He's tied to KOC and adofo-mensah, so that probably means sooner or later KOC and adofo-mensah goes. And I know that there are particular times in sports where you can bring in a new coach and he can flip that thing right away. But the percentages tell you that when you fire a head coach and you flip that thing, meaning bringing in a whole new coaching staff with a whole new philosophy, man, there is no guarantee that that thing is going to work out, and the odds are against you in terms of being successful. There is a higher rate of firing and things not working out for franchises when they change coaches rather than being on the other side. When you fire somebody, all of a sudden something magical comes in terms of a coaching staff and can flip it right away and be successful. If you are on the side of the fence where you feel like KOC should go now, I think there is a great chance that you set our team and organization back a couple years. And people can miss me with the parody stuff. If you just look at the numbers, there is a better chance of a head coach not making it in the NFL than making it in the NFL. It's just fact. It's just fact. You can look at the numerous firings every year in this league, man. It is built for you to fail, especially if you don't have a strong, solid, consistent infrastructure. It's what makes the Pittsburgh Steelers organization win every year. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. And if you talk to some of his fans, they want to get rid of him. But the Pittsburgh Steelers ownership, they don't believe in a high turnover of coaches because it could decimate your franchise. If you're just going from coach to coach to coach, there's got to be a level of consistency. It is why I am hesitant to throw out there that Kevin O'Connell should be gone. I don't think people understand the gravity of removing a head coach from a team, and I just don't think KOC is there. But let me tell you this, and this is why I think things could be uglier than we think they are. I think there's a lot I'm just going to be honest with you, man. This is Honest Monday. I think there's a lot of game playing with the Minnesota Vikings organization. I don't think, first and foremost, that the number one objective on their list is to always win football games. Like, they can come up to the podium and spit it. Like, that's just good coach talk. Like, you don't ever want to be the coach or the GM or the ownership that comes out in front of your fan base that is spending a lot of money and even hint that you winning games is not the top priority for the football team. And I think for the Minnesota Vikings, because of the games that I know are being played behind closed doors, and I'm calling it out, there are games being played behind closed doors along with the bad decision making. See, the thing is, I understand the commitment for the Minnesota Vikings. They bring in J.J. McCarthy. They move up to get him. They invest a lot in him. They're selling this to the fan base, JJ. So I really appreciate the commitment level to J.J. McCarthy. I think you need to start there. It's a great start, man. It's a great start when you talk about committing fully to J.J. McCarthy. It is why some of the decisions that were made when it comes to J.J. McCarthy. Anything surrounding J.J. McCarthy in terms of being a threat, I've said it numerous times, J.J. McCarthy becomes Teflon. They are going to protect him at all costs. And I give KOC way more credit than a lot of people give KOC. KOC has played the position. He has been in this league for many years. But here's the scary part. And here is what I know. Here's what I believe about KOC and his decision-making with the whole quarterback thing. You can't tell me that in those practices, in those sessions, when you have guys like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones and you know a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to be able to sell me that KOC actually thinks these guys are not better than J.J. McCarthy. I just think the Minnesota Vikings were committed and they wanted to head in that direction, and I can respect that. But once you make that decision, man, you've got to be able to put a plan in place to help the player that you're committed to succeed. And I don't think the Minnesota Vikings have done that. I am not confident that the Minnesota Vikings are going to do that. I think people are looking at the following week, and I think a lot of it is they just want to see JJ play. But I also think that there's an element of JJ McCarthy is going to come riding in on this white horse, and everything is going to change. Man, don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. The reason why I feel like this thing is scarier than we thought is because I have right now no confidence that KOC, and I know he's supposedly the quarterback whisperer, guru, genius, whatever you want to call him, but I have no confidence because I have not seen it with various quarterbacks and quarterbacks that we have in the past. And even last night, I have no confidence that he is going to be able to scheme something up to help J.J. McCarthy. I believe with the turnstile of quarterbacks that we've had for the past couple of years, I think everybody goes in with the same game plan. Man, I don't see anybody different. I think Kirk Cousins' game plan was Kirk Cousins' game plan. But I think Nick Mullins had the same game plan that Kirk Cousins had. I think Josh Dobbs had the same game plan that Nick Mullins had. I think every quarterback that we have, they have the same game plan. It's just like, it doesn't matter whether the quarterback has different attributes or skill sets. Everybody is kind of under the same plan. You don't see any changing at all, man. That scares me. That scares me when you talk about a guy being a quarterback whisperer and a guru, and our offense looks the same. Like, doesn't that scare you, UP Nation? Go back and watch film. There is no adjustment at all, no matter who the quarterback is. So I believe the same game plan that was put together last night for Carson Wentz, what they scripted, what they schemed, is going to be the same a week and a half from now with the Detroit Lions. And you would think that after the debacle last night with the amount of total yards that you accumulated and the way that you look, there would be just a lot of energy to change things up. There should be a lot of collaboration. As Kwesi Adofo-Mensah always says, when it comes to this football team, everybody should be getting back to the drawing board. And I don't believe in this mini bye, because they didn't do it during the full bye, I don't think that there's going to be any collaboration in terms of what we should do differently. We have been stating for years under KOC that we have a lack of a running game, and here we go again. We get our Aaron Jones back last night. We also have Jordan Mason, who has been running the football pretty well, other than the fumbles. I mean, he's been running the football pretty well since Aaron Jones has been out. And here we go again, 9 total carries. And I know that we're behind, but you got to have more than 9 total carries in the game between the two of them. I'm tired of waiting on, again, getting a running game with the Minnesota Vikings. It's all talk. It's all word salad. It's something that these coaches like to say at the podium, but they have shown me a body of work that they don't necessarily believe in, because they are never committed to the running game, especially if things don't go well early. 4 carries last night for Jordan Mason. 4 carries, really? Really? Max Brosmer last night. Again, there's this Teflon thing with J.J. McCarthy, man. I just fully believe that KOC, and again, I give him the benefit of the doubt. I believe that KOC is smart enough to recognize talent when he sees it. I believe that he recognizes talent, but for some reason, when it comes to recognizing what the talent is and putting certain talent on the field, there is a disconnect. And there is a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that I feel like prevent the Minnesota Vikings from making the correct decision. I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Everybody was kind of upset looking at all the social media today that Max Brosmer did not play last night. Some people wanted him to start. Some people wanted him to come in at halftime. Man, that was never going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I firmly believe, and this is prioritizing optics over winning football games. This is why it's uglier than we think. Optics over football games. I can't understand why people think that Max Brosmer was actually going to get into the game. KOC and the boys, they do not want a quarterback controversy. And so you could ask yourself, well, why did they, play Carson Wentz so much? Why did they give him so many starts when JJ probably could have got in there and did some things, although not being 100%? Why playing Carson Wentz? Carson Wentz had an opportunity to take JJ McCarthy's spot. If he would have played with her, he probably would have got the reins for the rest of the year. Carson Wentz is way different than Max Brosmer. Carson Wentz is long in the tooth in terms of a veteran quarterback in this league. He doesn't have a great reputation as a teammate. He doesn't have a great reputation as a player. I think after the first few games, they had seen enough. They saw that he wasn't really a threat to J.J. McCarthy's spot. I think everybody agrees that when J.J. McCarthy is 100% healthy, at least from what I heard, that everybody wanted J.J. McCarthy back under center. That's real. Max Brosmer, he's a young dude, undrafted free agent from the University of Minnesota. And even if you're not a NFL football coach, even if you don't know much about football, you've got your 2 eyes. And the one thing about Max Brosmer is that he can spin that thing. He's smart. He gets rid of the ball quickly. He comes from 2 programs where they threw the ball a lot, way more than they did at Michigan with J.J. McCarthy. So the potential and the ceiling of Max Brosmer is a scary thing, because Max could come in there, man, and change everything. And the optics are going to look good. You can just look at the minute and change that he got last night. If you watch those possessions that he got, man, things just look different. Everything was a little more crisp. He got rid of the ball a little bit better. And you could say that the Chargers and their defense was playing prevent, but it's not about the X's and O's, man. It's the optics and the visuals that you give your eyes a chance to see, and it just looked better. Max Brosmer looked better last night, UP Nation. Purple Gang, Skull Nation. Just looked better in the minute and 50 seconds. But you'll never know because it was a small sample size, whether that was prevent, was it that the Chargers took their foot off the gas? You'll never know. And that's why the Minnesota Vikings put Max Brosmer in that moment. So there could be a lot of built-in excuses if something happened. And there was no way that KOC was going to play call and have Max Brosmer be aggressive and get a touchdown at the end, because that would have sparked controversy for next week as well. See, they don't want any threat to JJ until they give him every opportunity to be the guy and they're done evaluating. So those of you that are calling on Max Brosmer to play in the Minnesota Vikings uniform without there being some sort of major injury, man, that's not going to happen. KOC is not going to give him that opportunity. So this is unconventional playbook. We're going to pull back the curtain. A lot of people don't think that this stuff goes on in the NFL, but it's going on with your Minnesota Vikings. If you are a journalist in the Twin Cities, you can't report on this, man, because you'll lose your credentials. They have power over you or whatever. But us content creators, man, we can talk about what we want, and I know that is going on. I know that was part of the decision-making. You're looking at Carson Wentz getting beat up last night, holding his shoulder, wincing, holding his elbow every time he came off the field, and you hang your hat on protecting players. I mean, hell, you've been cautious with J.J. McCarthy, probably overly cautious, because you know the stakes in that. You've been cautious with Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill. When it comes to player safety, KOC has always been on the side of protecting his players. You didn't see that from Carson Wentz last night. If they would have pulled Carson Wentz at halftime, I believe, I'm not saying that the Minnesota Vikings would have won the game, but I guarantee you that second half with Max Brosmer would have looked completely different than the first half with Carson Wentz. Therefore, opening the door for conversations of who should start against the Lions. This thing is getting ugly, and I think it's more uglier than we think. It's more uglier than we think. I mean, people are thinking about the Lions like I don't see any situation why anyone would think that the Minnesota Vikings are going to have an opportunity or a chance to beat the Lions. The way the Lions are playing, see, we don't do well against dogs under the KOC regime, because I think you have to scheme now going into that Lions game, especially if you're bringing back J.J. McCarthy for that game. I don't see that as a win. I just don't. And I think a lot of people are pointing at the Baltimore Ravens as a possible win because of the way they've been playing. I don't think at the beginning of the year anybody would have thought, hey, the Ravens is an easy win game. Let's mark that dub on your calendar. I don't think anybody would have done that at the beginning of the year, but the Baltimore Ravens have not been playing well. Their defense is not good as it has traditionally been. Lamar Jackson has been out hurt. Odds are he'll be back for our game at US Bank Stadium. And I think the Baltimore Ravens during that game, they're going to drink a lot of get-right juice, and they're going to get right with the Minnesota Vikings. When I look down at the schedule, and all I have is the decisions that the Minnesota Vikings are making, the way players are playing, where we are offensively, defensively, where we are at quarterback, the play calling, man, it is hard for me to find wins. Like, this thing could be ugly. Like, I don't see a win for a long, long time. I'm trying to figure out where it's going to come from. You know, the only thing that you can hope for is to rely on the science of parity in the league, that maybe one of these weeks, one of those teams are just going to have a bad Sunday, and the Minnesota Vikings can take advantage of that. But I can't hang my hat on that we're going to outcoach somebody right now and win these games going down the stretch, especially when we have question marks at the position that's most important. That's quarterback. We don't know what J.J. McCarthy is going to be like when he comes back. And then we know that the scheme is not going to be great. Like, I can say that with confidence with my chest out, that the scheme is not going to be great. Like, I just don't think KOC is good at that. He has shown me enough. Like my guy Purple Soda said, he's seen enough. I've seen enough of Kevin O'Connell and the play calling and the scheming for games. Like, that's where I think if we could make an immediate change there where he's not doing the play calling, man, I just think it would help this team. He is one of the worst play callers in the NFL. And I honestly stand on 10 toes, firmly, 1,000% believe that. I don't think that changes anytime soon, man. I don't think that changes anytime soon. This is what I'm talking about when I say things may be uglier than we think. The inability to be able to run the ball and fix that, man, we've been talking about that for years. We've been talking about the quick game, like he's not going to do that. I just have no confidence in any sort of scheming to win these games coming down the stretch, man. I think this has the feeling of a long losing streak. And think about this, man. How many times did we jump down Colin Cowherd's throat? Like, I feel like I should call up Colin, send Colin a email or something, and be like, man, I apologize. Because this dude was all over the Vikings not being good, being last in the division, not making the playoffs, and criticism of J.J. McCarthy. And really, other than the criticism of J.J. McCarthy, because J.J. McCarthy really hasn't proven what Colin Cowherd thinks he is, but the first two games weren't great, Colin has been right about the Minnesota Vikings and where they are. And it's sad to me to say that because we jumped all over Colin Cowherd. Man. And then our quarterback coach, McCown, tell me this, man. Why is he an attractive candidate? Riddle me this. Why is he an attractive candidate for a head coaching job? Man, there are guys that have proven more than this dude in the league. They have to grind to try to get jobs. And it seems like there's an over promotion to try to get this dude to be a head coach. Keep in mind, he was coaching high school and they gave him the head coaching job for the Houston Texans, and they had to renege on that because they had so much backlash. You're just going to bring this guy out of high school, and I know he's played years in the NFL, and make him the head coach of the Texans, and now you keep hearing his name surrounding NFL openings and stuff like that. Like, what is going on there? What am I missing? What am I missing in this guy where he is just this can't-miss candidate for a head coaching job while he's laughing and giggling on the sidelines with Carson Wentz last night when we were getting our butts kicked? Like, I don't understand. I don't see what his body of work, what he has done so great with the Minnesota Vikings that he should be at the top of the list of anybody's head coaching job. I just don't understand. I just don't get it. Brian Flores, and again, man, I may sound like a Brian Flores apologist. And again, I said it before, that defense last night, that was the worst showing of a Brian Flores' defense that I have seen since he's been the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm right there with you, UP Nation. I'm right there. I just think when you look at, again, I look at total body of work when it comes to Brian Flores. I think more times than not, Brian Flores' defenses show up. Didn't show up last night. Didn't show up against the Philadelphia Eagles. But when you look at the amount of time he's been there, when you look at the amount of time he's been with the Minnesota Vikings, like, I think his credit is good with me. Is it 700 plus credit? No, but it's high up there. And I think when it comes to improving this team, I'm just not going to start with Brian Flores. Like, I'm just not. He's part of the issue right now. I'm not saying he should be Teflon or not held accountable. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's easy to say on his side of the ball, he has had less than what Kevin O'Connell has had on his side of the ball since they have been coaching together. And I think Brian Flores gets more out of his guys, even though not perfect, than KOC gets out of his guys. I mean, you're talking about the best wide receiver in the league. And Justin Jefferson, he's got 1 touchdown this year. You're talking about a two-headed monster in the backfield. Aaron Jones proven, Jordan Mason proven, can't get the run game going. You're talking about the best wide receiver 2 in the league, if not one of the best wide receiver 2s in the league, not helping the offense, although Jordan Addison's been really, really good the last couple of weeks as he's come off his suspension. TJ Hawkinson's supposed to be one of the best tight ends in the league, and then you bring back your guy, Adam Thielen. You got all of these toys, and you have the ability to get things going, but you really haven't made it work. Scary. This thing could be worse off than we thought. And I go back to this all the time. Those of you that watch Unconventional Playbook know where I stand on this. I said it before a couple years ago. I thought that this was a scary thought. I thought that when we had the Pastronaut, Josh Dobbs, I thought when he came in and didn't know anything, didn't know the playbook, didn't know his teammates' names, didn't know anything. Man, was he's lighting it up. The more Kevin O'Connell got his hands on that kid and start pushing stuff in his head, learning the playbook, Josh Dobbs got worse. Think about that, man. Go back and watch the start of Dobbs and the end of Dobbs where he started to get more tutelage. from KOC, immersed in the playbook, immersed in the offense, bro, he got worse. He got worse. So I'm just not confident in where we're going as a football team, and it's all about making decisions and being able to scheme specific games. I just think it's our kryptonite. It is our weakness. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. As long as KOC remains the play caller, I think that element is going to be there, UP Nation. I don't think he's very strong at scheming and calling plays, especially situationally. I just don't think he's good at that. That doesn't mean that he's a bad head coach, but that is an important element for this football team going forward. And as long as KOC has his fingerprints on that stuff, the play calling and the scheming, man, I have no confidence. It is why we play so many close games. I just don't have confidence in that area of our football team that we are very strong. I think our ability to draft has really hurt us. Kwesi deserves some kickback on this. It has killed our depth. We have a lack of depth on this football team. We've been reliant on UDFAs. We've been reliant on free agency. And you can see sometimes that stuff works. Sometimes it doesn't, especially when you have situations where you become injured. Now, certain guys have to step up. If you don't have that depth in terms of being successful in the draft, you're going to hurt. You're seeing that from the Minnesota Vikings. You're seeing that from the Minnesota Vikings. This is where I hold Kwesi Adofo-Mensah accountable. Minnesota Viking fans, UP Nation, Purple Gang, Skull Nation, man, I hate to be the buzzkill, but you better buckle in. You better buckle in for a rough ride for the rest of the season, because you think last night was ugly. I think it gets uglier from here. It gets uglier from here. I look at our schedule, man, I can't find a win. I can't. The way the team looks right now and the way we are approaching games and scheming games, I just can't find a win right now. You think everybody points at the Bears game. Let me tell you something. The Bears are playing much better, and we barely got them the first time. The Bears are playing much better, and we barely got them the first time. So you can't look at the schedule and pencil a dub in on that for sure. Like, that's not a for sure win. What games on the schedule are for sure win? It's definitely not the Commanders. It's not the Giants anymore with Jackson Dart. I'm telling you, it's going to be about teams that we play having bad weekends, because I don't think we're going to go take it. I don't think we're going to go take a game. I don't think we're going to out-scheme anybody. I don't think we're going to out-coach anybody right now the way the team looks. I think we've got to bank on what we always bank on, B-Flow being able to get that defense together where we aren't Swiss cheese and the team is just going up and down the field on us, not even punting the football. We've got to get that stuff together, and I believe B-Flow can do that. He's very good with putting together defenses with duct tape, all type of stuff just to keep the defense together. He's shown that he can do that. We've got to be hopeful that he could do that with this defense. Maybe getting Van Ginkel back will help. But on the offensive side of the ball, I don't have a lot of confidence that anything too much is going to change. I have seen enough in that department where now I know, because of that, these games down the stretch become tougher. And I have seen enough to understand that behind the scenes, when it comes to J.J. McCarthy and whether or not Max Brosmer could play, whether or not J.J. McCarthy plays in preseason games, whether J.J. McCarthy doesn't, should he come back from his injury, if he's 85, 90%, stuff like that. I just don't think, to tie it up in a nice neat bow, that the Minnesota Vikings are 100% in on maximizing their opportunities to win football games. It is about getting to the next level the way they want to get to the next level, and a lot of it is the protection of J.J. McCarthy. I believe that the big reason why Max Brosmer did not start last night or did not play in the second half is because I believe in our coaching staff's talent to see what is actually really there. I don't believe in them making the correct decision for the football team, but I believe that they see things that are there. And I believe Kevin O'Connell has a good acumen when it comes to evaluating that position. And I think he understands that if they would have played Mac, that the optics of him playing would be pretty good. You could see it in a minute and 50 seconds last night. And you could see that KOC, even then threw a couple of runs in during that possession because he wasn't hell-bent on scoring. The worst thing that could have happened is that Max would have somehow drove the team down the field after all the struggles offensively and scored something. You think KOC wants to answer those questions? Hell, he snapped again at Judge Zolgad for asking about the quarterback situation. That's a sensitive area for KOC because he knows he's attached to JJ. So when you are putting things over winning, you have a problem as an organization. And I think a lot of that is going on behind the scenes for our purple, the Minnesota Vikings. And I think therein lies what's going to be a rough stretch for us Minnesota Viking fans, man. I've seen enough. I am not confident that this thing is going to change at all offensively. I think if Kevin O'Connell continues to play call for this football team, regardless of whether it's the remainder of the year or into next year, I don't think the Minnesota Vikings will ever be able to maximize the talent on this team as long as KOC is the play caller. I am there. Man, this has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, UP Nation, man, we will see ya when we see ya. I don't think this thing gets better anytime too soon. I'm not holding my breath. Skol.